And a very good morning to you. Welcome back, of course, to Alfajiri as we get into our newspaper review. Look at the front page of the PD, as we alluded to earlier. Police lining up more charges for billionaire. Rearrested moments after being freed on bail over 41 billion shilling tax evasion case. Likely to face new accusations of illegally importing ethanol from neighboring country. No one saw this coming. Nobody saw this. Actually, they thought now that he's out, his lawyers will work really hard as far as this particular set of charges is concerned. But clearly, they are not out of the woods.
Clearly, yes. And it shows you why he was highly sought after. He had been alleged to have maybe tried to evade this arrest for some time. The police have been looking for him. They tried to cooperate with those other nations where he had been operating from. When he came back, arrested, charged, as this story says, for 41 billion tax evasion. That's a lot. And released on 11 million bond, then rearrested again. And now he's said to be charged this morning for illegally importing ethanol. According to the story, he said that in April, a truck belonging to one of his companies was impounded along the Namanga-Nairobi road with documents saying that it was carrying maize, but then on checking, they find out that it is actually carrying illegal ethanol. So this is a crime that he is being charged for, and we wait to see how that goes. But it looks like this man so revered in business circles, and now he has these wars that are piling up every other day. I mean, the fact that you are being charged for evading tax worth 41 billion is a lot of money. I mean, this money can do so much. And if it's true that really he evaded this, it goes back to show us how these tax loopholes are really helping other people really not pay tax. And we had a story in the People Daily yesterday about the same, and how some senior managers were helping some businessmen evade tax. And if this is true, then this is one of those cases. And you can imagine how much you are losing through schemes like this. I mean, even our budget could be sponsored by the tax that we collect, but then if there are things like this, then going forward we are going to have very many problems. Indeed,
and even as we were talking about it yesterday, even in the newspaper review, the fact that when you talk about 41 billion shillings, right now we are having a Division of Revenue standoff over 16 billion. 16 billion. This is not even half of what allegedly he might have evaded. So you can see how far-reaching this impact of tax evasion is, and this is one individual in his companies. So you can imagine if you looked at various companies, if indeed other people are guilty, as KRA says, just how much money is being lost in the cracks.
Yeah, and they fail to meet their targets every other time. And now we see why. And the fact that some of the senior managers within KRA are helping these businessmen and some senior politicians to do this is something very, very sad. So it's up to the new KRA director to make sure that this happens, because if we have a budget of 3 trillion and we're collecting just 1.1 trillion, and we see that we are losing close to another trillion, I mean, in tax evasion, if we tighten that, probably the pinch that we are feeling, and as you say, things like roads, the big four agenda really can be financed to things like this, and this division over revenue that we are seeing between counties and the legislature is going to be something of the past. So it's up to the law enforcers really, and the DPP and the DCI to make sure that people like this are arrested and found guilty. They have a strong case against them, and so that they pay for their crimes.
Right. And of course, that's a story that you can get on the front page of the PD. Yesterday, some comments, of course, being made on the person of Humphrey Kariuki, in the sense that even as he was standing in the dock, a very unassuming fellow, very self-effacing, someone who you probably even walked by past somewhere along the streets of Nairobi and never thought that he's a billionaire whose interests now we see splayed, just splashed on every daily, owns companies across the region. Very simple man seated in the dock.
Yeah, and you realize the people who really make money in this country, you never see them, you never hear of them. Those who make noise all over the place, I mean, disturbing us on social media, are not making the money really. And these people who have the money, or the bull as they call it, are nowhere on social media. And this is a good example. And we have seen so many, those who are mentioned, they are really recluse. You never see them. There are some of them even finding a picture is very, very difficult.
Right.
And they have to come to court for you to get a glimpse of who they are. You hear how powerful they are. You hear just stories of them, but you never really put an image.
Right.
And this is one of those examples.
Right.
And the fact that he's in court and you can see even his demeanor shows you he's in an environment that he's not used to.
Right.
Something he really doesn't want to be associated with. He does not want his pictures taken. But then again, if you are accused of a crime, this is what you face.
Right, right. And of course, that makes the lead story in your copy of your People Daily. You can get it and get the full story right there on page 2 of your PD. We get into more detail of that. And also, as we look at the news briefs right there, diplomat sues state over work permit. A Nigerian diplomat has sued Kenyan Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Services Director General for failing to renew his work permit, which expired in January. When it goes down this particular path, and this I'm wondering, as far as cordial relations between countries are concerned, this is not the right note.
Certainly not. But what is the reason that he is not being renewed, this work permit? There could be other things behind the scenes, really. Right. And these diplomatic issues, really, they never want to bring them to the fore. And I feel there's something more than what we're being told. And so trying to bring it out there just to try and cause this rift so that probably the government can act with speed to renew this license.
Right.
But I think there is more about this issue than just what is being said. Right,
right, and that you can get on page 2 of the PD. Also on page 2, DCI to grill Cherargei over inciting remarks. Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei was yesterday summoned before the DCI over allegedly making inciting remarks. We saw what he said, of course, saying that they are noting people and the remarks they're making, the positions they're taking. There we shall, revisit that particular issue and those particular people. And the DCI is saying that this, of course, is tantamount to hate speech as far as they're concerned, and they want this to be looked into.
Yeah, it's a good move. But then again, looking at the history of such cases, and I think it's just going to get off the hook again. We have seen Moses Kuria go to court. You have seen other politicians, I think Mudhama was also in court over hate speech remarks. And they come out and they continue spewing this venom. And so what stops them from doing this? Probably we need to set up an example. And if this case can go to full trial and maybe a punishment meted on whoever it is or on this senator, if really that is the case, then I think it goes a long way to try and dissuade, especially politicians, from uttering such remarks.
Right.
But if it's going to get out again, as we have seen with other politicians, then it's going to be the same all over again.
Right, right. Let's not forget another former legislator who was also arrested, Ruben Dolo, and on his way to court said that he's suffering from high blood pressure.
We have seen this.
Even convenient.
Yes. Even I think Punjani was sick last week when he was being sought.
Upon his raid, when they raided his home.
I remember Kamlesh Patni during Goldenberg, he was sick when the trial started. And we see these famous guys, every time they are arrested or they are facing a case in court, they end up in hospital and they are sick, and the doctors has a report and says they cannot face trial and things like this. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but they look suspicious at times. If he's really sick, then bad luck for him. We wish him a quick recovery, but that does not mean that he should not face charges. And
for me, whether he's sick or not, my bigger question usually is, why is it so selective? Because I've seen other people who are usually sick and go to courts and get their sentencing and things move on. So does it get to a certain level or status in society when your sickness now can actually be something that they look into to determine your plea on that particular issue?
It looks like, because I mean our judiciary has been really accused of selective application of this law, because you see people who are influential in society at times get some preferential treatment, and those who really do not have that authority are really being treated not in the right manner. And so it should be a balance for all as it is, but so far we have not seen that. So I think it's upon the courts to make sure that these people, if they are really sick, then that's the case. If they are not sick, then we bring them to court, because I feel like it's ping-pong games here and there, people trying to evade these arrests or being taken to court, and it delays justice really. And this is why we have so many cases piling up in court, because of tactics like this. And at sometimes, even lawyers advise their clients to do things like this, so of course the case can drag on and on and on, and because it's forgotten, you get an opportunity to even mess up with the evidence, and the case becomes weak.
Right, right. And And of course, some of those intrigues, of course, can be found on page 2 of your People Daily therein. Also, page 6 and 7, two-page spread of an icon taking a bow. John DeMathew right there, and of course, I mean, just the tributes given by various leaders on his work, his life, and his impact, not only in the music industry, but society at large.
Yeah, and I think it's sad that he was coming from, I think, a fundraiser, and he met his death really untimely. It's very, very sad. Sorry to the family. But what he has done for the music industry and the society at large is something unforgettable. Even if he's dead, I think what he has done cannot die. And I think those in the music industry can really learn from him and take over going forward and do things like he has done. Because we have seen so many of people in the entertainment industry not agreeing on so many things, some of them very little issues, and if they can learn from this icon really going forward, then we can see a cohesive industry, and we can learn from them. They can be inspiration to many young people. Very
true. And of course, the details on that particular story can be found on page 6 and 7 of your People Daily. We told you it's a new look PD, and it's free, by the way, so get to appreciate and experience the new look, of course, as you get fully informed right there. We'll now move on from the People Daily to the Standard. Front page of the Standard: how Tycoon beat police in game of wits. He was finally arrested on his way out of court after hearing, but that was nearly a week after Humphrey Kariuki returned home and stayed safe from a manhunt that supposedly spread beyond Kenyan borders.
Yes.
So as we looked for him across, the borders, he was right here.
Yes, again, it takes me back to this Punjani story, and we have seen some security personnel being reshuffled at the coast, because allegedly they were protecting the guy and they were tipping him off. And this could be another example. I mean, some of these are well-off people. They have such networks in the security forces who inform them, at times who protect them of what's going to happen. And so they are all aware that if I'm going to be arrested, this is the steps I need to take to protect myself. These are the people I need to align myself with. And as you say, they're looking for him outside the country, yet he's here.
Right.
I mean, how? Because who is doing this and who is protecting him? How come we are looking elsewhere when the guy is just right next to our doorstep? So it tells you something about our security personnel that needs to be checked into, because people like this cannot be running away. Really, within our borders, we should be having enough of this apparatus to deal with them.
Right, and that makes, of course, the headline of the Standard right there. They go into detail in terms of the timelines used from February the 8th all the way up until August 19th, and how this particular issue played out from the seizure of the uncustomed ethanol all the way up until he took the plea, of course, in court yesterday. That's a story that you can get in detail right there in your copy of the Standard. Also, in matters policing, Coast Police chiefs moved in drugs war, wave of violence in Kisauni, Nyali, Likoni, and poorly coordinated war on narcotics prompts major reshuffle of security bosses in Mombasa. Let's not forget the Interior CS had spoken about the fact that they're taking this war on drugs, of course, to their very doorstep. That brought in the Ali Punjani raid. We thought there'd be more that would be done. So people are really, keeping a close eye to see what happens next.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to, is it next Monday when he's supposed to be arriving, to see what happens. But then the reshuffle is really linked to that case. There were reports that some security personnel at the coast had really been protecting this guy, had been tipping him off in case of an impending arrest. Any time the government is trying to make a step towards arresting him, then he is a step or two ahead. And so who was giving him these tips? Somebody somewhere within the security department was doing this, and I think that's necessitated these changes. So hopefully, with those police officers moved, then we can have new ones come in and try to deal with this issue of drug menace, because at the coast it's very, very huge. It's messing up the youth, and some senior people in government and even in political circles are alleged to be involved in this. And now we see a serious businessman also allegedly being involved in this. So it's up to the government to make sure that the people involved are taken down, like we have seen with the Akashas.
Right, and of course the details of that can be found therein in your copy of the Standard. Also in the Standard, a two-page spread in their financial pullout right there, how a criminal syndicate denied KRA 30 billion shilling using fake invoices. So really carry on the sport
Yes.
and their collection methods.
Again, who were these people involved? And you might find out that, again, it's people within KRA who are helping this. And so the people we have given the mandate to try and make sure that our taxes are collected well and taken good care of are the ones making sure that we don't get enough.
Right.
And who are these? I mean, we saw around 8 KRA staff earlier in April being, or I think in May, arrested and taken to court. There could be more. And now, going by the story of the People Daily, yesterday, some senior people, previously and now, within KRA, were also involved in this. And so these are the people we need to nail down and find out how was this able to happen. Because, as we have said, a lot of money is being lost to some of these businessmen and some influential people in society through tax evasion, and it's something we really need to tighten.
Right, and it's a really intricate web of collusion, even as you speak about it, because you can see from the KRA officials to, you know, the business people who are involved in this. We have banks that are in play, of course, forex bureaus as well have been thrown into this particular mix, and this is just these are just some of the key players when it comes to how this whole tax evasion scheme is carried out.
Yeah, and it tells you how it is easy really in Kenya to get away with anything. I mean, we pride ourselves for having some of the best security apparatus around, but then again, people really mess around with the systems. We see with IFMIS how people mess around with it when procurement happens and money is lost. And now with tax, I mean, how easy is it to just get away with anything in Kenya?
Right.
And we're being told how Kenya is well ahead in as far as dealing with issues like this are concerned, but the true picture is something opposite.
Right, right, and of course you can get details of that, of course, in your copy of the Standard. Also, an interesting op-ed in the Standard by Suleiman Shabal talking about Mombasa on the verge of death. Give it the kiss of life before it's too late.
Yes, and you can understand where he's coming from. I think he's right twice as governor of Mombasa and lost to the
Are those sour grapes?
You could say so, but then again, trying to punch holes really in the administration of Hassan Joho as governor, trying to position himself for 2022, I would assume, because he is still in this race. He's interested in the governor's seat, and you have to find fault and whoever is the occupant of that seat. Yes, those who have been to Mombasa recently would see that there are things that are not right, especially with garbage, roads, traffic. I mean, in Mombasa was not associated with traffic jams like in Nairobi, but right now it's too much. And things like those are going to be the stick with which his critics are going to beat with him with. And Shabal is taking cue. And you can also understand that he has been his political foe before, and he's not going to stop.
Right, right. And even as we look at that, let's not forget the fact that as we had the most recent wave of crime in Mombasa, the governor wasn't there. And there were very many questions that were asked.
Yeah, he was in LA, I think.
Yes, and we saw pictures of him
enjoying himself with Paris Hilton.
Yes.
And in DC with wearing shorts in summer, enjoying the sun. And people are being killed in your county. I mean, somewhere else, he'll be on the first plane back to Mombasa. But, I mean, this is why people like Shabal, and I think I've seen Mohammed Ali, the MP of Nyali, also really hammering him because he doesn't look like he's serious with the issues that affect the Mwananchi, issues that he was elected to deal with. And he still has 3 years, so enough time to wake up and really deal with these issues.
Well, you can get the details of that, of course, and plenty more in your copy of the Standard. We move on now to the Daily Nation. Front page of the Daily Nation, a political angle seen therein. Why Raila is the man to watch? While opinion is divided on whether or not the ODM party leader should contest the presidency in 2022, pundits see him as the only formidable challenge to Deputy President William Ruto.
Yeah, a nation staying true to that story, I think, since Sunday. Raila came out on Sunday when they said Raila is in the race, and Raila came out on Sunday to deny. But then again, they are staying true to this message, and that's what it is. Let's not kid ourselves. I think there is no other formidable candidate that has come up to try to challenge the deputy president in 2022, and that's what it is. And those two are going to take each other ham and tongues until 22 again. Already the deputy president responded to that story saying he is ready for Raila in 2022, but I think with the caveat that he should accept that if he is defeated, then he will accept defeat.
Right.
Of course, you're not going to get a response on that from Raila But this just, I mean, stoking up the political fires ahead of 2022. And you have seen Raila trying to position himself through the BBI, supporting a referendum that is impending. We don't know whose referendum, whether it's our courts, Punguza Mizigo, or Raila and Uhuru-led BBI. But then again, it looks like a referendum is going to be there. So who is going to pick the benefits or whatever comes out of the referendum? It looks like Raila is the one on the forefront, and those allied to the deputy president opposed to it. So those two, I think, are the people to watch, unless somebody comes out from somewhere that Kenyans are really fascinated by. I don't see that changing. And
that makes for the front page and all that fascination as well, right there in the Daily Nation. Also, in regional matters, Somalia jumps the gun on oil wells. The maritime border dispute between Kenya and Somalia could get murkier as details emerge that Somalia plans to auction oil blocks within this particular contested sea territory, even before the court delivers judgment on the matter in September.
Yeah, I think Kenya and Somalia have been on this for quite some time. And the matter is, I think, before the International Court of Justice. And we are waiting for a verdict in September, I think. But Somalia jumping the gun and trying to auction off this island to some European nations who are really interested because it seems to be rich with oil reserves and things like those. And Kenya not happy with it. I mean, there's been a huge diplomatic war on this matter. And I think it's an issue they can really sort out. I mean, we have seen diplomats or ambassadors being sent home, others recalled, and things like those. I mean, we don't need this to be happening. It's unnecessary, especially when this matter is still before court. Why don't you wait until a verdict is given? Then if you are on the winning side, then you can go ahead and auction this. But before that, I think is being mischievous.
Right. And of course, that's a story that you can get in your Daily Nation. Front page of the Star, very quickly, inside new and stalled graft cases at the EACC. Agency is tightening a case against ex-National Police Service Commission Chairman Johnston Kavuludi. Another round of high-profile arrests could be in the offing by the detectives. So it seems like this is the calm before the set of another storm.
And it looks like some of these public offices, when you get there, it's just a matter of time before a scandal springs up on you. We have seen Swazuri in National Land Commission. He went out and somebody new is in right now, but he has cases in court. Kavuludi, I mean, left the National Police Commission. Again, there this case, according to the story, giving bad checks amounting over 900,000 and things like those. And I mean, the DCI and the DPP are very, very busy people. It looks like in our society, everywhere you look is a scandal. Everywhere you look is corruption. And that's the office mandated to deal with it. So many cases, but they have no other ways but to deal with them.
And of course, that's a story that you can get, of course, in your copy of The Star. Of course, if Joel is here, the last minute of our newspaper reviews dedicated to sport. Very quickly, of course, we've seen some major transfers happening. Harambee Stars has a new coach as well. What's the sports in arena looking like right now?
Yeah, so much. Yesterday, there was a Player of the Year awards in Kenyan Premier League. Joash Onyango of Gor Mahia won. First defender really to win that has been for strikers, and it's good for him. 1 million cash prize. Harambee Stars of their officially unveiling Kimanzi and Zico as their assistant today. So wait to see what they have in store for us. But of course, we know them. Kimanzi has been the coach of Harambee Stars before, taken us to the best ever FIFA ranking, number 68 in 2011. And Zico was also the coach around that time who denied Uganda Cranes the chance to go to AFCON for the first time before now they started getting there. And so these are people who know the national team, have been there, done that. And on the international front, I think Philippe Coutinho going to Bayern. I mean, we never saw that coming.
No one saw that happening.
Yes. We thought he was coming to the Premier League. We didn't know the identity of the team, but Bayern have him, and I think they've given themselves a gem, a very, very good player, pushed out of Barcelona because of the arrival of Griezmann, hopefully Neymar, and things like those. But then again, very, very good transfer for Bayern. And in the Premier League, United yesterday, Wolves proving to be tough enough to crack again. At least they got a point. Last time they played there, they were hammered 2-1, 2-1 back-to-back. So it's our progress, and we have seen that Ole's team still needs some time.
Right.
I think it will be early to try and put them among the title contenders.
Right.
They need a lot more.
Okay, of course, as EPL is concerned, Wolves still proving to be the bogeyman even in this season. Very many clubs watching out for them, and of course, I can see from the local front. Good news for Harambee Stars. Let's see how far the new coaches will take them. That's where we leave the newspaper review at this particular point.
Thanks.
Bwana Joel, thanks for taking us through the dailies. Take a short break. We're back on the other side. We're rising and shining, and it's all about that job interview you go in for. How do you put your best foot forward? Let's discuss that after the break.